Good day, and welcome to another episode of Quilting with Don. For those newcomers, I am Don. Maybe that's rather obvious. And I am taking on another project, and I'm about halfway through it. I'm calling this episode Stars and Feathers, and you'll see in a bit why I've chosen that title. And let's start off with the stars. So, about 3 weeks ago, I had the privilege of taking a basic paper piecing course put on by an instructor extraordinaire. Her name is Ann Hall. She lives up island from us. She's a certified QuiltWorks instructor, and in fact she taught us a basic pattern from QuiltWorks, and it's called Haystack Cookies. Here's the pattern that we were taught. What's more important than the actual pattern though is the process and the tips and tricks that she passed on to us. QuiltWorks patterns are engineered. That's the best word to say. They're really great. They're thought through on the process, they're thought through on fabric requirements, but also importantly, they're thought that everything works and is explained, is articulated very well. There's methodology, there's organization in there, and how you do your fabric and your choices. There's even backup support for if you want to lay it out on your computer to see how it looks with your actual fabrics, you can do that. So QuiltWorks, between the combination of QuiltWorks and Ann Hall, it was an amazing combo, and I learned a lot from this 2-day course. What did I do? Well, I built what you see behind me. So here's a more close-up view of it. It's these haystack cookies pattern. It comes out to about 40 inches by 40 inches, and I built these stars, as you can see on the thing, using this. It's actually a sparkly white and a sparkly blue fabric for the stars. I really liked it. The points are nice and sharp. All my corners are good. It came out great. I even added a mitered 2-inch border to round it out. So, I'm going to add that I even did additional engineering on this pattern, because I noticed while I was working through it, all the kudos to Ann and QuiltWorks because they made it logical, but there's a bit of fabric waste, and more than a bit. So Ann tells me the more complicated patterns are better. This was really meant for beginners, so they were over padding, if you will, everything. And provided all the fabric for this course too. And that was great. So she did the color choices. But the over-engineering part I did was templating the inner stars, because you would just cut them out of strips and you use a pre-cut strip for each point. That's very wasteful. I templated it, so I used my one with the fabric strip and then cut out the pieces I needed in rough shapes using a template. If you want to see how I did this, I've done this before in another one of my projects. I'll put the link on the top of the screen. As a result of that, I saved, for the stars, 60% of the fabric when I was working on this top. Now that's significant, because in fact what it allowed me to do, I mentioned that Ann gave us all the fabric. I was able to use all that fabric that she gave us, and I had so much left over that I could build the back for this quilt. And here it is. Simple rail fence quilt built out of leftover fabric strips. So it works. Oh, I should also point on a neat thing about this course. Not only did we learn and improve on techniques, because I have done a paper piecing before. You can refer to one of our previous videos, I suppose, if you want chuckles and giggles. But Ann recommended 2 things that I did not use before. One was this really cool glue stick. Let's see, I have to check my glasses out. Yes, it's pink. That was all she had from Sew Line. But it's a cool little glue stick, and it gives you precise gluing, and it's only a temporary glue. So you can place it. If it's not quite right, you can peel it back and do it again. I used to use Elmer's glue on my last project, and it was too sticky. The other thing is this Easy Press pen by Acorn. It's a starch-based product, I believe. What you do is when you've sewn your line, you add this easy. You run the pen along the line and you iron it, and it makes it super flat. And she demonstrated the difference between using it and not using it. And there is a difference. It makes the quilt top much flatter, the seams much sharper, and it works. So I built this top behind me. It took me, 3 or 4 days of puttering around after I got home from the lesson and finished the top. Because I built about I built 1 star during the class, the 2-day class. Maybe 1.5. I finished the rest at home. So, part 2. Feathers. So, yes, I have a top. I have a backing. I will have some batting somewhere, no doubt. How do I quilt it? Well, this is where feathers comes in. because a week after I took this course on basic paper piecing, I had lined up and I took a course on free motion sewing of feathers. Now I took the course from a lady named Deb Morrissey. She works out of Huckleberries in Comox, up island, about an hour from where we live. But she came down and put on a workshop for our guild, and so there were, there's probably close to 10 or 15 ladies and me taking this course, and it was great. So she taught us very well on how to make feathers, variations on them. The handouts she gave us so that we could take them home are amazing. So not only did we learned something, we were able to continue practicing at home. During the course, for example, I'll see if it'll show you. Practice some basic feathers, on sandwiches I already pre-made, and then some more linear ones in a line, and then we started filling in blocks. So I did these all during the day, and as I was going along, my technique was getting smoother and better, and definitely I was improving. So now I decided I have a technique with the feathers to quilt my stars quilt. And came home, practiced a bit, did some more sewing. Oh, I should mention, before you even start sewing, you start drawing things on paper just to get the feeling of what your hands can do. So I drew some things and some stuff and so on. So I did that. As I kept practicing that, I did some more sewing at home on my quilting, my regular sewing machine, and I designed, in my mind, and what I'm going to do, 3 types of patterns that I'm going to use for the quilt top. Now, around each star it's actually made up. Each star is made up of 4 blocks, but you can see it's a white center, or whitish, a light center followed by a dark blue border. That border I'm going to fill with. Now let's see if I can show you here. Okay, I'll just put it on the screen. This pattern. So the star goes into, a quarter of the star goes into that, and I use 4 of those around the point. You'll also notice on the quilt top that there's, well, I'm blocking one of them, but there's 4 light rectangular areas. So I came up with, and here's the pattern I'm going to use for filling those. And finally, the border is a straightforward border, and here's the pattern I'm going to use for that. It's going to be a wavy line with feathers. It's going to go all the way around. So that's it. That's where I'm at now. Going to check in with a quick update. I have been busy in the last couple days doing some sewing. First, what I did is I laid up the quilt you see behind me. So I've got the backing and the top, and 2 layers of batting. I decided if I'm doing all this work with free motion feathers and just quilting in general, I want you to be able to see the results. So I added 2 layers. So far it's working out pretty good. The other thing, I'm going to show you in a sec where I'm at. I've been using these quilting gloves for the free motion, and I discovered while I was doing this, what I've done is outline each of the stars. I started using a walking foot and stitching in the ditch, but there was so much quilt top getting caught in the throat here, it was unmanageable. So I switched to free motion stitch in the ditch. Took a bit of practice, had to do a couple unsews, but it came out pretty good, so I'll show you now. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but I have stitched around each of these points on every star, using white thread around on the white background and blue thread on the blue background. And I'll come in so you can see a bit here. It's actually caused the star to puff up a bit. Now it's nice because the points really pop out with the double batting. And this is where I ended up stitching in the ditch, free motion, to make it work better. And I'm now going to obviously have to sew down the middle of each point, of each star, because it's a little poofy. All right, it's been 2 weeks since the last clip I just showed you on this episode of Quilting with Dawn. I have not done any more work on doing my free motion feathers. It's been one of those things. I, in fact, got all my Christmas lights up, finally, and there, of course, will be a Christmas light video to show you my winter wonderland, if you will. I've been doing drinking beer with Dawn. You may have seen some of those things. The annual beer advent calendar is on, and I'm doing that, rating my beer. I've been doing a lot of scuba diving, been doing, just life is piping, life is taking over. So I haven't done any more quilting. I figure what I'm going to do now is close off this episode so you can actually see what's happened so far for this, my feathers and stars, or is it stars and feathers? And I'll get to within the next week or two. Of course, now Christmas is just around the corner.
lots of things to do, and Carolyn and I are going to do our annual tradition of making pizza on Christmas Day. So after that, there will likely be a Making Pizza with Carolyn and Don episode to show you our version of our Christmas pizza this year. So stay tuned for all these fun things, including, of course, the next Quilting with Don, where I will do my free motion feathers. And it's going to come out great. That's the plan. All right, you guys have a great one. Cheers.